confident, sophisticated, responsible, and proud to be Filipino. Every month, I will feature an overseas fabulous Pinay. Stay tuned and let's get fabulous.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Ovfabpinays podcast. My name's Donna Kuenzler, and today is a very special episode because it's our season 1 finale episode. And instead of one Ovfab Pinay, I am joined by four overseas fabulous Pinays who will provide their insights on living overseas and, more importantly, on being based back in the Philippines. So let's welcome all of them. So first we have Teng Alvarez. So Teng and we met about 6 years ago in Seychelles when my husband and I were on holiday. And we happened to be strolling by the beach, and then we bumped into a group of Filipinos, and Teng is one of them. So welcome, Teng, and it's nice to see you again.
Thank you, Donna, for having me. Like you said, nice to see you again.
Yeah. And then we have Cherry Ileto. So Cherry and I go way back. She's actually my best friend from high school. So we've known each other since we're about 12 and a half years old. Welcome, Cherry.
Hi, Donna. Nice to see you again.
Cool. And then we have Rica Cacho. So Rica and I met briefly in Singapore before I moved to US. And then a few years later, well, a year later to be exact, we reconnected in London and then we became really good friends. So welcome, Rica.
Hi, Donna. Hi, everyone.
Hello.
And finally, we have Monique Garcia. So Monique is also a friend of mine. We met in London, care of Rica. And just as a trivia, she and Rica are also very good friends. They're childhood friends, so they know each other since they were about 5 years old, maybe.
Yes.
Yeah, maybe 4 even.
Yes. Since kinder. So hello,
Since
thank you for
kinder.
having me. Thanks for
Great,
having me,
great.
Donna, and
Welcome.
hello to everyone.
Yeah, so welcome to our guests and welcome to all our listeners and viewers. So let's hear from our guests firsthand about their overseas experience and how long they've been back in the Philippines. Cherry, you want to start?
Okay, hi again. So I moved to Singapore in 2010, and then I worked there in the Singapore National Eye Bank. So I'm a non-practicing physician. I worked in the eye bank, like the Mata Bank, not the finance company. And I stayed there for 5 years, and I moved back to the Philippines in 2015.
Cool, 5 years, huh? And then we have Monique.
Hi, I'm Monique Garcia. So I'm a hotelier, so more on the sales and events side. I moved to London in 2002 and stayed there for about a decade. And mind-blowing enough, I've been back nearly a decade also.
Wow.
That shows my age, yeah.
You moved when you were 5.
Yes, exactly.
And then Teng.
Okay. So ako naman, my overseas experience started in 2003. I went to Indonesia. I've been a consultant for an auditing firm there, Moore Stephens International. After which I had an opportunity to move to Diego Garcia. This is a British Indian Ocean territory but was used as a U.S. military base. I stayed there for almost 2 years. And after which, I was moved to Seychelles. Doon na ako nagtagal sa Seychelles. I was there for 11 years until ito lang, noong July when we came back home to Philippines. So I've been out of the country for a total of 17 years. Yan.
Wow.
Long time.
But fresh na fresh, huh? Just been
Yeah,
back
fresh.
since July. Yeah.
Kaya ayan pa, may vibe pa ako ng
Yes.
ano ko. May hangover pa ako ng Seychelles. Yan.
Withdrawal symptoms yan. So. And then finally, Rica.
I left Manila in 2002 on a whim, actually, because a friend of mine basically just invited me for a job interview, and a couple of months later, I got the job. So I moved, and I thought, sige, I'll give it a couple of months. If I don't like it, I can always move back home. But I enjoyed it so much that I ended up staying and staying. Um, so I was based in Singapore for about almost 5 years. And I was seconded to the UK. So I was in London for about 8 years as well. And then I was offered a job opportunity with the same company also in Los Angeles. So I stayed there for about 3 years. At which point, my then boyfriend, who is now my husband, had moved from London to Manila. So we were kind of like we were in a long distance relationship the entire time I was in Los Angeles. So then, something's got to give, right? So then we decided that Manila would be a good place to move to and settle and start a family. So I've been back for about 3.5 years now.
Great. Thank you, Rica. And so, of course, Rica partially answered it, but the burning question is, why did you move back, right? After years of living abroad, why now? Why?
Why not? Well, that was it, right? It was basically, we wanted to start a family, so that's why we thought it would be time to move back. I did not think I was going to move back to Manila, but my husband thought that the opportunities were better, at least in Manila for business. So that's why we opted to move back.
Great. How about
Same.
please go ahead.
Yeah, same for me. Family wasn't so planned, but all of a sudden, okay, it's time to start a family. So actually, Rica knows the story, and Donna, you know the story. I rode on the plane back home, maximum 7.5 months with a certificate that I can fly. So, but that was it, really, to start a family.
Yeah.
Same. Can I go next?
Yeah.
Like what Rica said, something's gotta give. So my ex-boyfriend did not have any plans of moving or leaving the Philippines. So I had to be the one to come back because he couldn't give up his responsibilities here. So yeah, cliche, but for love.
No, exactly. I think
All for
also
love.
but for me, kasi my husband kasi just moved from London, right? He was in the UK for about 20 years, I think. And it was like he didn't want to restart again somewhere else. And at the time I was living in Los Angeles. So it was a bit like, it's either he moves and then start again, or I move and start again, which wasn't too bad.
Mm-hmm. And then,
Ganyan
since
yata
you're
sa
the freshest.
Oo, sa atin mga Filipino women, we would do anything for love ba yan? Ganyan ba yan? Anyway.
Hindi naman.
Hindi ba?
Hindi naman. I think it was like just the timing. I think I needed a break as well from what I was doing. I was very career orientated for a very long time, and I just wanted a bit of a change. And there's always an opportunity to leave anyway if things don't work out here. So I think that was kind of like the caveat there.
Okay. Anyway, sa akin, ganyan din. I thought it was high time to move back. Particularly kasi yung parents namin, both side ng sa husband ko tsaka sa akin, they were getting a bit old na. So sabi namin, might as well spend some time with them. Tapos we had 2 kids. One was 7, one is 3. And the 7-year-old was entering the primary level. So sabi namin, it's high time. Parang maganda rin na time na maka-integrate back into yung sa education system dito, ganyan. So sabi namin, sige. And then, gaya ng sabi ni Rica, yun nga, for development. Kasi medyo matagal na rin ako sa Seychelles, 11 years na. Sabi ko, time na to move. So yun, sabi namin, high time na, let's get ready. And then, yes, eto na. Ayan na. Balik na sa Pilipinas.
Welcome back.
Yes. Oo nga. Medyo ano lang yung timing, pero ang maganda kasi na paghandaan. Dahil napag-usapan to way before nung COVID, medyo ready kami. So, thankful kami na although nung umuwi kami, may COVID nga, ready naman kami. So, medyo okay naman kami.
So how long did you plan for your move?
Yung sa amin, it was about a year or so
A year or
na
so.
Wow.
pinaghandaan. So,
Mm-mm.
talagang inayos namin kasi pati yung mga, sana yung lilipatan nga na yung bahay, tapos yung enrollment ng mga bata, tapos yung, syempre, kasi sa akin, I'm holding the CFO post. So, medyo mabigat na rin yan. Hika basta pwedeng umalis.
Exactly.
So,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
mayroon akong kailangan na i-train pa muna, tapos makapag-handover, to ensure then na yung iiwan ko nasa ayos din sila. So it took a while, about a little about more than a year. Tapos yun na, ganyan.
Were there like what were your key considerations? Were there like non-negotiables na you had to consider for your family or for yourself, like on where to actually live? Yeah,
Wala naman
which
sa
impact
amin.
you personally or professionally? Wala masyado.
Wala na kasi yun yata ang beauty ng ano no, flexibility ng mga bumabalik kasi you were out for a while anyway, so that you also have that freedom to choose when you come back. So sa amin ang nangyari, yun nga, throughout that year na nagpre-prepare kami, we searched for a place na yung adjacent lang din sa school ng mga bata, and then we said the work will come or the business will be in place. Ganun na, parang pagdating na doon sa kamo na aayusin. Pero our primary consideration really was yung sa adjacent sa school ng mga bata, because one of the primary purposes was yung sa schooling ng mga bata. So yun.
Rica, I want to hear from your side.
What was the question?
How long did you plan? How long did you plan and key considerations?
I have to say, I didn't really plan for it because in my head, because I like, okay, when I moved to LA, I really didn't have that kind of mindset that I was going to move back to Manila. For whatever reason, I cannot say I actually prepared for it. It was one of those things where like my husband, si Iñaki, came to LA. And he was like, he proposed. And like, okay, so what are we doing, right? And this was a year before moving back. So I think the key consideration, at least for us, was for us to live centrally. Basically, because I was so used to having, being able to walk around easily, access to everything pretty much. So I didn't want to be isolated, especially because I was giving up my job as well. So I was going to be like jobless for a little while, which was part of the plan for me to rest a little bit. So I think that's one of the key considerations. I cannot say I actually planned it thoroughly, but I did have in my head, okay, as long as I know what to expect in Manila, because of course things are very, very different here compared to overseas where everything is efficient. So that, because a lot of people get like their family and friends get annoyed with them for complaining about the way things are in the Philippines, and I kind of kept that in mind, not to complain too much. I think that was what it was, because we cannot help it, right? I mean, all of us who come back home find it quite frustrating, like the services and things like that. But I just had that in my mind not to do that. I think maybe that's the best preparation, not to expect so much. Or the same.
How about Cherry?
Cherry, you're
on mute. You're on mute, Cherry.
Sorry there. It didn't take me a lot of planning actually, because when I left, I also left on a whim. I just answered a job interview and got accepted. But I always knew in my mind that I would be moving back. So the moving back, I didn't really, I had a job lined up already before I moved back. I made sure of that.
Okay.
And then as to where to live, I also already had a place to stay. So I just really had to pack up what I had, the little few belongings that I had.
Was that because your boyfriend was in Manila? So you knew you were going to go back?
Yes, actually, so we got married after 10 years of being together, 5 of which were LDR.
Yes.
So, yeah. Yeah, so it was
Yeah,
like
okay.
He just
one
rolled
way or
out
the
the
other.
red
Parang,
carpet for Cherry,
Yeah,
in open
right.
arms.
well,
Come back
parang,
home. Yeah.
yeah, sabay with a promise I'm not supposed to work when I get back home, but here I am working. No, just kidding.
Monique, anything to add?
I know exactly how long it took me. 7 months to get ready to go home. Because when I found out I was pregnant, I'm like, OMG, we have to go home. Because for me, it wasn't a consideration to give birth in the UK. I really wanted to go home.
Really? You didn't want
to
an NHS
birth.
experience?
No, I think
She was so scared.
the second time, the midwife in NHS told me, Monique, why not consider giving birth at home? You can even use your own towels. I'm like, I'm going home. So I wanted, that's, the alaga at home. I mean, here, di ba? Hospital, nurses, taking care of you, not giving birth at home. And, di ba? And it's different. It's very different. So I remember very well, 7 months to leave my job and take off all the other places we wanted to travel. So my husband and I and some friends like, let's travel like really big just to cross out the other cities we wanted to go to and get on that plane at 7.5 months. So that.
And did you have to save a lot for your move back to the Philippines?
I guess because it was so not well in a way sudden. I remember thinking very well that I'd have more money going home, but then funny enough, and this is no joke, the money I had in my bank account going to the UK was exactly the amount I had going back home, and this is after 10 years, and I'm like, oh my gosh, because rent is expensive, and I guess when you're young, Max, like my husband and I, we and no regrets. I mean, we enjoyed life there. We traveled, and no regrets. And maybe that's why I came home with the same amount. Because
Can I just say something, Monique? That was spent in the pub. Most of that was spent in the pub.
Traveling and the pub, yeah. So, but when I came home, even knowing that that's how much I had in my bank, it was okay. It turned out okay. I mean, finding a job and things just really fell into place.
That's
Easier
good.
than I thought
That's good
it
to
would.
know, huh?
Yeah.
Pero
It's easier than
you'd be surprised, Donna, actually, na kahit na maggaano karami ang i-save mo yata, when you get home, parang ang bilis lang din niyang nawawala. Kasi, hindi, lalo pa, sa akin, anyway, I was in Seychelles where not all the supplies were available.
Right.
And when you get home, para kang, alam mo yung na-deprive and gusto mo lahat subukan ulit. Gusto mo, uy, ito available, uy, ito, ganyan. So, sa amin, para kaming nag-trigger happy ng yung mga na-miss out namin. So, yun, parang mabilis lang din. But, anyway, ang kagandahan nga lang din siguro, parang sabi ni Monique at saka ni Cherry na yun, you made sure na pag-uwi mo, mayroon kang work na kasunod, tapos everything would be provided afterwards. So, it helps. So, meron kang kaunting savings, tapos mayroon ng karating na kasunod na supplement. So, okay na ano. Anyway.
And then, so, what were the hardest things that you needed to adjust to? I mean, how long did it take you to settle in, really? Maybe si Teng hindi pa settled in yan. Settled in ka na ba?
Off the boat.
Actually, maso-surprise ka, parang hindi ako umalis.
No, hindi nga.
Really?
Seychelles kasi, island life is different. I remember, I had let me just tell this story. We were in a cafe, and then one of the acquaintances there, he ordered for a taxi. And then he asked the girl again. He was like, "Oh, taxi. Oh, okay." I mean, twice na yun, ah. And then third time, he was like, "Did you call the cab?" I was like, "Oh, they're on holiday." And then she didn't bother to tell him. So it's like, the way of thinking is a bit different in the islands. Yeah.
Far different. Pero kasi yung sa amin, siguro kaya parang feeling ko hindi rin kami talagang umalis. Kasi every year we get to go home.
Aha,
So,
okay.
pag umuwi naman kami, a month each time. So
Oh
parang
my
well
God, that's
well
nice.
integrated ka pa rin na
Oo.
nasa Pilipinas na ano. So yun.
That's good.
Kaya mabilis lang. Tapos I've kept my contacts intact sa yung mga kabarkada ko, professional and yung personal. So
Yeah.
parang hindi rin ako nawala. Ang bilis, ang bilis. Nung pagka-quarantine namin, pasok kagad na ganyan.
Yun na yung
Real life kagad, oo.
Wow.
Mm-mm.
Who had a different experience? Who took
Me.
longer?
Me, I'm still adjusting.
After 3 years.
3 years.
After 3 years, well, it didn't help as well because like the first year I was here, I was busy setting up like a business with a friend of mine, right? So I was very busy with that, and then I fell pregnant. Okay, so after like a year and a bit, so I got married, started a business, and then fell pregnant, and then I have no yaya. So that's like my life, and then COVID happened. So it's like, getting into or getting back into like the groove of things kind of medyo suspended siya. So it hasn't quite happened for me yet. I feel like I'm living in a bubble. I cannot say I've reconnected with people as much as I should or should have. So 3.5 years later, I'm still kind of not quite, I'm in Manila, but not really.
Still reintegrated.
Na-culture shock ka ba?
Yes and no. Yes and no, because it's funny because you expect it, and yet it still surprises you that it happens, So
siguro it helps kasi kagaya kay Cherry, you always knew you're coming back home. Ako rin, ganun
the
din ako.
mindset was
Kay
there,
Rica kasi different. You weren't expecting to come back home. So,
No.
ganun. Sa amin kami.
Not for any reason, ha? It's like the sort of thing like,
Blame Iñaki.
correct. I blame him.
So, yun siguro it helps. Kasi ang mindset namin was always going back home. Kaya nung nakauwi, mabilis lang din na nag-adjust.
You have to follow up on what Teng said. So, I mean, Singapore's not that far naman. So I visit regularly. And then whenever I would visit, it's not like I stayed for a month, but I'd make it a point to still drive. So I didn't lose that. I know there are a lot of people who come back who are scared of driving.
Yes.
Yeah. So
I did that as well, Cherry. Every time I came home, I drove.
Yeah,
Just
me too.
not to
Yeah.
lose it, right? Yeah.
yes.
It's a skill.
I was deprived. I'm deprived of driving in general. So whenever I go for holiday,
Yeah, well, both you and Patrick enjoy driving here.
yeah, exactly.
Right. Yeah.
But everyone complains about traffic, no?
Oh, it's bad.
Yeah. Of
It's
course.
really bad.
It's horrendous.
That's one of the main adjustment for me coming back was, of course, you grew up here and you remember, but when you live away that long and you come back, it's just a tick like, oh my gosh, yes, this is how it was. And it's crazy because when you live abroad, it's just, okay, today I'm going this place to this place and that place. And you don't need to plan it.
Yeah.
Whereas being back in Manila, parang you have to plan the whole couple of days in advance, your travel time, you incorporate it in your day.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's
it's
crazy.
harder
It's like-
to get around.
Yes.
Sa
Huge
akin,
amount of time.
Yeah.
yung asawa ko ang nagda-drive palagi. And pag nagrereklamo sila lahat, matraffic. Sabi ko, parang hindi naman. Sabi niya, kasi nakaupo ka lang dyan.
Natutulog ka pa.
Tutulog na.
So ako, na-entertain ako, nakikita ko yung mga malls, nakita ko yung mga pa-phone ka lang, ganyan. Sabi niya, kasi nakaupo ka lang, kaya hindi mo napapansin.
And I have one funny story. I remember when I started working for Raffles in Fairmont, because you forget, I don't know why, when I entered the parking, I realized I entered at the wrong side.
Yes.
I
What do you
actually
mean by
entered
wrong side?
Because UK is the
Left
other
hand
way.
drive.
other way.
Right-hand
Ah, okay,
Yeah.
okay, got it.
It's
Wrong
a
side of the
good
road.
thing wala akong kasalubong.
Yeah.
Oh no.
Crossing the road, Monique, I remember now that you mentioned that. I used to look the other way. It was like, naman how Manila is, right? It's not pedestrian friendly. But like, I live in Makati, right? So crossing the road, I would always look the wrong way.
Buwis
But
buhay yan every
yeah,
time you
buwis
cross
buhay
the
talaga.
road.
But like, luckily, at least people in this area actually follow the traffic lights. But anywhere else, I would have been dead a long time ago.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So it's the travel. Now me, it's that mainly travel and the
Yeah.
banking,
Bank. Oh my God, bank.
banking.
Ayan.
Killer, killer.
Yeah.
Ako, I just, yeah. I think like it's a whole day affair just to go to the
Oh.
bank, huh?
Buti na lang meron na ngayon mga mobile apps.
Online.
Online.
They're always down.
That's true also.
May
Ayan.
nakita kong joke. May
Still
nakita kong
complaining.
joke, sabi nila, kung gusto mo talagang mag-save, ilagay mo doon sa bank na yon, hindi ka maka-withdraw. Kasi
Correct.
Savings talaga. Yeah. Security.
ayan.
So when you guys were recently back, did you also give some culture shock to your friends and family? Did you surprise them in any way because of how you are?
I'd say, yeah. Go ahead, then. Go
I
ahead.
can see Monique really like nodding. Yeah. Go ahead, Monique.
Sige,
Yes,
Simon.
I think it was just my being vocal shocked them. That it was a conscious effort to shut up and just not complain. Because when you come back, yes, it will be different, but you forget how difficult it is. Some things, not everything. Some things like the bank and travel, like what we talked about earlier. So I'd give my comments, and then I would notice na lang like some of my family members like na parang, is he complaining again? And then, so yun, it was an effort to parang
Bite your tongue, yeah.
bite my
Bite
tongue
your
na lang.
tongue,
Kasi
yeah.
that's, di ba, they can't do anything also. That's the way it is. So parang,
Yeah.
yun. Yun.
Anyone else has some funny experience or something to share on that regard?
Nope.
No? So, what's
No.
the best thing about being back? Back in the Philippines?
For me, at least, because I missed so much of my family, the kids of my sisters, their growing up years. I think, not that I see them as much now. I haven't seen them since like the lockdown, right? But like, it's the fact that you can actually see family. I've missed so many gatherings, significant birthdays, things like that when I couldn't go home because it's kind of like a random time in the year, right? So that's kind of nice being able to see family when you want to. Well, not now, but before the whole COVID thing, right? That was nice.
It wasn't a big trip, right? To go back
No,
home.
well, the traffic. Let's go back to the traffic. Right?
Yeah,
It's still a
relative.
big trip, but at least you don't have to ride a plane to go somewhere, right?
Mhm.
Same time, but
Same time. It's like traveling from Cherry going from Singapore to Manila, but
Makati
right?
ko ba?
Kasama na
Yeah,
yung
correct.
waiting time at the airport. Yeah.
Correct. May layover pa.
but yes. For me, same as Rica, family. I mean, nothing will beat being home with family, friends, friends from childhood, friends from all, even work in the past. And I guess being back home, because we're Filipino, it's home.
Yeah.
Yun
And
nga, talaga.
yeah. And how has your relationship changed, if it did, with your family and friends? Because when you were visiting from abroad, you always see them probably for the I don't know how many days you're visiting,
Before the lockdown.
and then suddenly you're back permanently. How did that change?
Well, I don't see Monique anymore.
We used to see each other in the pub more.
Always in
Well,
London, right? We used to see each other very often. Like, it was like we had the same group of friends, and we would see each other for everything. But it's like now we're not even far from each other.
Yeah.
But like when you visit home, I visited quite often, so it wasn't like it was every few months I would be here, and everyone would go out and meet up, and they're always available. But then when you're in Manila permanently, I think it's what we all do. We take things for granted, and so you don't make that much effort anymore. Like I see Monique maybe once every 6 months, if that.
Yeah.
No. Because then, of course, we have families now. It's not like before and you're all living in the UK where like all we were interested in was like, what are we doing after work, right? So it's a different mindset as well. So.
Cherry, anything to add?
Can I go back to the last question?
Sure.
Sure.
Can I? What I like about being back is, well, aside from like the family and not being in an LDR, like what Monique said, it's because we're, diba, Rica?
Yeah.
Because you're home, you're home. It's like I didn't have a negative experience in Singapore, but my experience was I was always watching what I was doing because I felt like I had to represent, parang Miss Universe, represent
Miss
the country.
Universe.
Yeah, no, but kasi, like that online journalism thing na stomp. And then they have a survey na parang the number one nationality that's reported to the police for being noisy. Actually,
Filipino,
the time that I was there,
Really?
yes.
Yeah.
Noise.
Yeah.
At the time that I was there. So like I was always watching na parang am I calling attention to myself? Not that I'm a loud person. I'm not. But but when you get together with friends and
When
then
you
parang
get together, yeah. That's a
yeah,
fact.
diba? And like
We
you
are
haven't
loud.
been to
We
a
can be
real
loud.
Pinoy
Yeah.
party in Singapore if the police hasn't knocked on your door. Parang you can't live Singapore without that happening to you as a Pinoy.
I
So
remember
parang,
even in the
diba?
workplace, so we were called out because there were like 5 of us maybe
Because
in the
you're
office.
chit-chatting.
Yeah.
Sa
Yeah.
Singapore ba ano yan, video okay kayo ng mga Filipino?
Uso yun. Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh.
it's uso.
Yeah, uso.
And the neighbors can call you out for that. So parang what I like being home is like you can be yourself and you cannot be conscious about what you're
Because
doing.
everyone is
being
loud.
labeled as- Welcome home.
Palakasan ng sound system, di ba?
Hindi, pero totoo nga rin yun. One of the reasons ako rin na gusto ko rin umuwi, yung namimiss ko yung culture sa opisina ng Pilipinas. Alam mo yung pwede mong sabihin, girl, mag-isip ka naman kaunti. Na wala kang ma-offend. Kasi, hindi, alam mo sa ibang
I
nationality.
like that.
Hindi mo pwedeng sabihin sa kanila yun na, girl, Kerry, o kaya ganyan, di ba? Hindi nila mag-get yun eh. Pero dito, get natin lahat yun. And they will not take offense when you tell them na, please lang. Yung ganyan lang na sasabihin mo, di ba? So, iba ang, ako, masaya ako na knowing, mababalikan ko yun, yung ganong culture na ganyan lang, magsabi lang, girl. Yun.
Si Monique yata iba experience eh. So,
I was keeping quiet here na. But, me naman baliktad in terms of the work. I had to be more careful of how I said things and what I said because I found out that I offended or it was just taken the wrong way because I don't know, like we talked about this, Donna, before, like in the UK, in London, everybody calls each other by their first name, and I got so used to that. Syempre, when I came back home, yes, talking to everybody with their first name.
yeah.
Like, yeah, even
the boss, right?
even the big boss. And yeah, I found out through somebody. That's the funny thing, pa. I found out through somebody else that he didn't really like it. I'm like, okay, sorry naman.
Yeah.
So, okay. I'm like, and then I was still at that, because I was back like 6 months pa lang. I was still in that, na parang, why didn't he tell me himself? Parang
Yeah,
ganun. But
correct.
Exactly,
iba,
right?
different,
Oo.
Yeah.
different dance step. Yeah.
I haven't been back in the office environment since I moved back though, but I do remember because I worked here very briefly in Manila before I left, and I think opposite also. So I'm like similar to Monique. I found it easier working with people overseas because you less chismis and more kind of like people just get on with things, kasi parang I felt like when I was working in Manila, there was a lot of politics that are like
Politics, yeah.
too much. I think for me, I didn't like that. So parang I think
Or
that's
people
the
can be
opposite.
sensitive, I think.
Yeah,
Yes.
overly sensitive. They judge you also for the kind of what they assume you are, especially the Pinoys. Also overseas, I have to say, some of the Pinoys overseas, I had that experience in Singapore where they were a bit like judgmental about what they think you are or perceive you are.
Mm-hmm.
Just parang they're like, parang, hello, we're all Filipinos, right? So parang they check out your background, ganyan, which I thought was a bit strange, right? But I didn't get that in the UK, yeah. I have to say in London was a lot easier. And also, mind you, in the company I used to work for, I was the only Pinoy in my group. So a lot of them haven't even seen another Filipino. So, or knew anyone like a Filipino. So there was no judgment there. So that's what I found very refreshing.
That's true. That's true. But then how so on the professional side or even so social side, did you have to proactively connect with your existing network once you were back or did you have to create new ones?
Ako, I've always kept in touch with them. Even yung sa first job ko sa SGV, we have a chat group running from yung partner nung firm up to yung sa staff na namin noon nung team namin. Tapos when I moved to Indonesia, mayroon din ako yung group ko doon. Tapos ganyan, lahat sila. Tapos yung ng mga friends ko rin growing up like sa inyo mula nung high school, ganyan. We've kept in touch. So it's kaya nga sabi ko it's like I didn't move at all kasi andyan talaga yung connection.
Yeah, that's nice. Yeah.
For me, I wouldn't say proactively. I think it naturally, like when we came back, it naturally went back to pretty much the way it was. I mean, yes, you still need to reach out to friends, but I guess because my husband's family, they're a big family of cousins and friends. So that naturally, we started joining them again. And then when we started our new jobs, then it's so much easier to make friends and new networks. So it was very natural coming back in terms of friends and networks.
Rica.
I think for me, I feel I have to like reach out because I think most of my close friends from when I was growing up are actually overseas. So they've all moved away from home, like the close barkada that I have. In fact, we have a Zoom this evening, and half of the people I'm close to, actually more, are actually in the US. So, and also for me, parang when I came back, I didn't really I was too busy in the first year, and then all of a sudden it was like, we're on lockdown. So I think when thinking back, taking for granted the fact that I could always meet up with people and then finding myself not being able to do it now. Diba? I think it's still, I needed to be more proactive, I guess, in restarting. And again, because I didn't work very long in Manila, and a lot of the people also that I was very close to moved overseas as well. And the person actually who invited me to move for that job interview the very first time is now in Australia. So it's kind of like, the close friends that I had at work are also overseas. So it's just no situation, I think. If they had all stayed here, I think things would have been different.
So, of course. Huh? Cherry, anything to add?
Experience. It's the same experience as Teng, that I kept in touch with my friends. And then I moved overseas pretty late. So the ones who had left already, the ones who were going to leave had already left. So I'm friends with the friends who are here in Manila.
Yeah.
And actually, what I would like to add is if ever nadagdagan pa yung circle of friends, because I have a couple of friends also from Singapore who have moved back to Manila, and I didn't know them prior to moving to Singapore. So it's like you have more friends.
That's true. That's actually true. And on looking for a job, how easy was it to look for a job? Did your overseas experience help at all?
Ako sasagot. Kasi ecstatic pa talaga ako regarding dyan sa question na yan. So anyway, I came back, sabi ko nga, on July 29, and I wasn't really planning to look for a job. Not yet anyway, especially nga ito lockdown. But I received an email of a vacancy for a job that I really liked. This was on September 25. I got a call on October 2 for an interview. And then, come October 12, hired na ako.
Wow.
Wow,
Congratulations.
congratulations.
Grabe. I am so grateful talaga
Mm-mm.
for that. That parang ini-hand over lang talaga sa akin yung job. And it's for a cause, Save the Children.
That's really
Nice.
great. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Overwhelming. Natutuwa ako. So, ngayon na inaaral ko yung organization, alam ko ang dami kong dapat aralin and all. But really, I'm grateful. And I think, like yung sa answer sa question mo, Donna, I think
Mm-mm.
it really played a great part that I come from a multinational company.
Mm-mm.
Tapos, yun nga, yung last post ko, and then of course, yung background and all. Parang swak na swak doon sa hinahanap nila. So, it was parang talagang dinesign for me.
That's
Nice.
So,
nice. That's nice. Well done.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you. So,
Monique
yun.
or Cherry, anything from your experience?
We'll go
Or,
first. Monique?
go ahead, Cherry.
Ako, I want to take a page from the Overseas Fabulous Pinay Handbook where Donna
Ooh.
constantly mentions using your network
Yeah.
because that's how I got my job in Singapore and that's also how I found a job here. I wouldn't say that my role in Singapore helped a lot in my being hired here because my job when I got back was different from
Different.
what I was doing in Singapore. But I landed a job through connections. So yeah, keep your connections.
Yeah. Very
I agree
important.
with that actually.
Yeah.
Because I'm doing something completely different. I've not actually tried to look for work here. Because again, when I left, I really wanted to do something different, a bit more on my own time. But I've gotten jobs through just people. I know family, ganyan, they're like, oh, can you design this for me? That sort of thing. It's very easy in that sense. People just approach you and refer you because of your connections. So, but job-wise, I think with a job that I used to do as a facade consultant, I've not tried. I might try next year because I really want that office environment also. Being
Right.
able to, having had this like almost 2 years of me with like my child, parang I wanna reconnect with the rest of the world, right? By
Yeah.
working maybe in an office environment. So I'm gonna try and do that once this is all over. So let's see, Donna. I'll let you know.
Monique.
We need
Monique.
another podcast. No,
Yes.
I remember coming back. It was easy finding a job. I don't know if it was because of the experience, but definitely I know I felt more confident. And also connecting to what Cherry and Rica said, after my first job back in Manila, it was really the network. So like what you said in your book, it was the network moving me to my next step, which was Raffles.
That's awesome. And then I'll go back to Rica because, as an entrepreneur, how was that for you?
It was actually, I have to say, if I had set up something in another country, it would have been more difficult because I didn't know where to get where to start. Whereas when I moved back, my friend who I started the business with had been here for a little while already as well. She's actually, she grew up in Austria, but then she has lived and worked in Manila for a little while, maybe about 7 years at a time. So
okay.
it was so easy to get someone to do the marketing, to do construction, things like that. So it was easier in that sense. And I think if I had done that overseas, doing something similar, I think it would have been a lot harder because the connection it's just different. Us kasi parang we find things through people we know because they're established here. Whereas if you're like a foreigner overseas and you're not in that, the people you go around with might not know, it's different. So parang it's easier here to find things is all I can say, even though it seems like you don't usually find it like on the internet, like what we would do maybe if we were say in the UK or the US. Here parang, oh, do you know someone who can build this? And they're like, yeah, I know this contractor, So
Exactly.
that makes things easier in that sense.
That's true. Now I'll change the topic a little differently. So, would you consider living overseas again?
A
Yes.
resounding yes.
Resounding yes.
Yes.
Oo
I
naman, di
think
ba?
given the right opportunity, if it's the age of the kids by then, yes, why not? Yeah.
Mhm.
Tama din. Yung sa akin, palagay, anyway, the reason that we came home, yun nga, para makasama yung mga grandparents. And I think when the time comes, yun, medyo malaki na rin yung bata, tapos kung kunyari, alam mo nang mangyari, and the opportunity comes, yun nga, oh, why not? Okay, masayang mabuhay sa ibang bansa. Ma-expose ka sa ibang culture, ibang ganyan. So, masaya naman. Oo. And at alam ba yun, meron akong nabasa nun sabi niya, di ba, beauty nga ng umaalis is that you can get to go back home. So, iba rin yung excitement naman ng uuwi ka. So, para ma-experience mo yung excitement and joy ng pag-uwi, kailangan aalis ka. So, yun, maganda nga alis. Yes. Oo.
Parang
And,
anywhere you go, no, it's really like pros and cons
Definitely.
in terms of timing and the place.
Mhm.
That's true.
Yeah. The things I
Cherry,
think yeah.
do you have a different view?
Oh, sort of. Well, actually, I changed my view. It's not a hard no, but I don't see it happening anytime in the future. Like, yeah, if something comes up, I'm not against moving back overseas, but I don't see that happening anytime soon. So, yeah, we'll see.
Since you're the one who's like not, kind of indifferent to the rest, is there anything that you wish you've done more of before you left overseas?
Oh, actually, no. No. Funny is, before I left Singapore, I had a bucket list of things to do, and I had enough time to tick off most of it. And it's pretty near. So, yeah, the funny thing was, after I moved back to Manila, my younger brother started a job in Singapore. So I was able to visit him and like reconnect with my friends in Singapore and just hang out and enjoy the city as a tourist. But yeah, feeling ko nasulit ko naman yung bucket list ko. So I don't have any regrets.
That's good. How about the rest?
Not
Ako
really.
Sige, si Rica muna.
No, I mean, no, I wasn't gonna say na parang I don't think there's anything more that I'd like to do, but the more would be the everyday stuff that I miss about living overseas. So for instance, like even just going to the park, walking, cycling. I used to cycle to and from work. So those things, the change in seasons, it's the everyday things. It's not so much about, because I think I've done enough like of the traveling and what have you. It's more the everyday feeling that you get, or the everyday experiences that you get that you cannot get here, is what I would like to do, but cannot do because I'm here. So that's a different.
Uso na ngayon nagbibisikleta dito, magbike ka na.
Buwis buhay also. Right? Yeah.
Anyway, for me, ako, nag-enjoy din ako ng time ko overseas. So, it's not as if I would have wished to have done something more of, okay ako, happy ako yung naging experience ko doon. And yun, kaya siguro, alam mo yun, yung pagbalik mo, mabilis ka ngang nakabalik kasi there's nothing that you would have wanted more, kasi ready na I was ready. So, yun.
That's good to know. So, we are down to our last question, ladies. What advice can you give our viewers and listeners who are based overseas and contemplating on moving back to the Philippines?
Be afraid.
Wala naman next
universe,
question
yeah.
talaga. Next question, please.
I'll start.
Okay.
Just follow your heart. It's so cliche. But
Another Miss Universe,
no, hindi. I know, napaghahalata na. No, but I mean, if you feel like you're gonna be happier going home, then do it. Just be prepared and manage your expectations very well.
Yeah.
Sound advice.
Oh,
Yep.
very sound. Sana
Go.
narinig natin yun bago tayo umuwi. Anyhow, sa akin, masabi ko, parang religious dating, pero sige nga, pag-pray nyo talaga. I mean, the preparation comes along with the prayer na i-ready ka and i-pave the way for your coming back home. So, tapos, syempre, along dyan, sabi nga nila, tutulungan ni Lord yung mga tumutulong sa sarili nila. So, whilst you're preparing your way, you're praying, yun din, mag-prepare ka. Ayan na, mag-ipon ka, ayusin mo na yung mga kakailanganin mo. And yes, that goes along with the management of the expectations when you come home. So, yan.
Yeah. Yeah, I think
Thank you, Teng.
you have to have like good reasons for going back if that's really what you want to do. You have to ask yourself that, because like when I moved, I thought about it over and over again. I said like, you know, would I really want to be back in Manila? Because again, that was never in my plan. But it was also not in, you know, it was not also the thing na parang, "Oh, sige, I'll never go back." It was never like that. But I had compelling reasons to move back, and I did. So it's not like I regret it or anything, but you just have to be prepared for moving back if that's not something, you know, you have to have good reasons for it and accept all of the good and bad things that come along with any decision that you make. So
Good.
that's it.
Thank
And
you,
just to
Rica.
add to that, back to my pros and cons. You know, when you go back, it's really pros and cons. But like me, like being back home, you know, is for me was really family, which that pro really overweighs all the other small negatives, which you will learn eventually in time to like, you know, let it go.
Let it
Yeah.
go. Let it go. Yeah.
Because you have to.
Otherwise, you're gonna get loca, right?
Yes.
That's great. Well, thank you so much, ladies, for those insights. I'm sure our viewers and listeners really learned a lot from your experience. Also, thank you for sharing, and all the best. And Teng, you know, enjoy the beach vibe there. So enjoy the beach vibe. But to everyone, yeah. So thank you so much for being in my season finale episode.
Thanks for
I will be
inviting us.
forever-
Yes.
Thank you also.
Thank you.
And thank you to
Donna.
everyone who's listening and watching. And we'll see you in season 2. So thank you, everyone, and stay fabulous. Bye for now.
Bye.
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 Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.